All right, let's talk about Tesla. How did a company that's barely a teenager take on the giants of the auto industry, an industry that's been doing things the same way for 100 years and just completely flip the script? It's a fascinating story. I mean, just look at this. On one side, you have the entire traditional auto industry, basically built on a century of the same thing, the internal combustion engine. And on the other side, you've got Tesla. In just a decade, they forced everyone to rethink what a car even is. The difference is just staggering. So that's the big question, right? How on earth did they pull this off? How did a tiny startup from Silicon Valley become this massive disruptor? Well, to understand it, we actually have to go back way before Tesla was even a thing. The crazy part is, electric cars aren't some newfangled invention. Not at all. In fact, when cars were first becoming a thing, electric was a real contender. But it got pushed aside by something that was, well, a lot more profitable. Yeah, believe it or not, way back in the late 1800s, some of the very first cars ran on electricity. But then gasoline came along, and that business model just took over everything. Electric cars basically disappeared. The idea popped up again in the 90s with GM's legendary EV1, but you couldn't buy one, you could only lease it. And then, in a move that still baffles people today, GM took every single one of them back and crushed them, literally, sent them to the scrapyard. And boom. Just like that, it seemed like it was all over. The dream of a modern electric car was dead, killed by the very companies that had the power to make it happen. This was rock bottom for the EV. But you know how these stories go. Right as the EV1 was being turned into scrap metal, a new dream was just getting started. In that very same year, 2003, a new company was born with a mission to do what everyone else said was impossible. So it all starts with two guys, Martin Eberhard and Marc Tarpenning. Elon Musk joins them a year later as chairman, and their vision was huge: create affordable electric cars for the masses. But they knew they couldn't start there. First, they had to prove that an electric car could be something you actually wanted. And the result was the Tesla Roadster, the very first production EV that could go over 200 miles on a single charge. It was proof that this could work. Okay, so you've got this killer idea, this awesome proof of concept. But that's the easy part, right? Surviving in the brutal, cash-burning world of the auto industry, that's a whole different beast. Before Tesla could change anything, it had to survive. And right out of the gate, bam, the 2008 financial crisis hits, and it hits this tiny new company hard. They had to cut 10% of their employees just to keep the lights on. We're talking about people who were there from the very beginning. It got so bad that Elon Musk had to put $70 million of his own money on the line just to stop the company from going bankrupt. Think about that. That's an incredible personal bet on a vision that almost nobody else believed in back then. And get this. This is how close they were to just not existing. By 2013, they were on the brink of bankruptcy again. Musk actually had a handshake deal to sell the whole company to Google. It was pretty much a done deal. But at the very last minute, sales started picking up, the deal was called off, and, well, you know the rest. So, okay, they survived. They pulled back from the brink. But now comes the really hard part. Proving you're not just some niche product. They had to prove that their car was better. Not just different, but fundamentally better than a gas car in every way that counts. And they started with the one thing that matters most: safety. The Model S didn't just get a 5-star safety rating. No, it set an all-time record. It was literally the safest car ever tested, with the lowest probability of injury to its occupants. Ever. So how is it so safe? Well, think about it. There's no big engine block up front. That means the entire front of the car is one giant crumple zone designed to absorb impact. In fact, the car's structure is so strong that when they were doing the roof crush test, the car actually broke the testing machine. Broke the machine! All right, but what about the big fear, right? Aren't the batteries going to catch on fire? Well, the data tells a completely different story. It turns out your average car with its tank full of gasoline is way more likely to catch fire in a bad accident. And it wasn't just safety. It was like they rethought everything. You had supercar performance, 0 to 60 in just over 3 seconds. The handling was incredible because all the heavy batteries are on the floor, giving it a super low center of gravity. They built their own charging network. And this was a huge one. The car gets better over time with software updates. Your car literally gets new features while it's parked in your garage. Oh, and you buy it directly from them. No haggling at a dealership. Okay, so we've established they built an incredible, revolutionary car. But what does that actually mean for this 100-year-old industry? Let's look at the numbers, because they're pretty wild. So check this out. At this point in time, Tesla's market value, what investors thought it was worth, was around $31 billion. That already made it more valuable than huge established brands like Mazda and Mitsubishi, companies that have been building cars for decades. But this is the slide that really blows your mind. At the time, General Motors sold about 70,000 cars every 3 days. That's about how many cars Tesla had sold in its entire history. Yet GM was valued at $56 billion, and Tesla was already worth over half of that at $31 billion. What does that tell you? It tells you investors weren't looking at the past. They were making a massive bet on the future. And that bet on the future, it was never just about selling cool cars. That was just step one of a much, much bigger plan. The mission from day one was always to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. The cars were just the means to an end. He actually laid out the master plan years ago. Step one, build an expensive sports car, the Roadster, to show everyone the tech is real and cool. Step two, use that money to build a more affordable but still premium car, the Model S, and prove an EV can be the best car in its class. Step three, use that money to build a truly affordable car for millions of people, the Model 3. And the final step, take all that battery and solar tech and power our homes. So when you see that whole grand vision, it's no wonder that serious people on Wall Street, like the folks at Morgan Stanley, were calling it the world's most important car company. It's not just about the car. It's about the massive change they're forcing on the entire energy and transportation landscape. I mean, think about it. In a single decade, a small startup managed to take a 100-year-old industry and turn it completely on its head. It just makes you wonder, now that they've done the impossible in the car world, what industry is next?